Peace like a river attendeth my way. When sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. Though Satan should buffet, though trials should come, let this blessed assurance control, that Christ has regarded my helpless estate, and hath shed his own blood for my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. My sin, oh, the bliss of this glorious thought. My sin, not in part, but the whole, is nailed to the cross, and I bear it no more. Praise the Lord, oh my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. And Lord, taste the day when the faith shall be sight, the clouds be rolled back as a scroll, the trump shall resound, and the Lord shall descend. Even so, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul.
We invite you to stay tuned for the live broadcast of the Wednesday evening Bible study of Mayfield Drive Baptist Church, located in Smyrna, Tennessee. We will now join the service.
All right. Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight for the Mayfield Drive Baptist Church Wednesday evening Bible study. So, Brother Joe was going to be here tonight, and he was going to do, I think it's Numbers. However, he's not able to be here tonight. So, be in prayer for him as he is recovering. So tonight, January 15th, we're going to look at an introduction to humanism. Jeremy chuckled. You wondered what I was going to do. We've been talking about it. And truthfully, I've been asked to do this previously. And basically, I had kind of put it on the back burner. I hadn't really decided whether or not we were going to do it or not. But, so tonight we're going to look at an introduction to humanism. I'm going to combine what we did several years ago in the adult Sunday school. I'm going to combine introduction and the first lesson in one. I have a little more time in Wednesday evening Bible study than I do in Sunday morning adult Sunday school, so try to incorporate a little bit more into it.
Sunday morning
Or Sunday afternoon Sunday school, yes. So, humanism. What does it mean? What does it mean? That's what we're going to look at. So, by definition, humanism is an outlook or system of thought attaching prime importance to human rather than divine or supernatural matters. In every lesson I do on humanism, I start with this statement. Humanism is an outlook or system of thought attaching prime importance to human rather than divine or supernatural matters. That is what it is. So when you hear the term, you at least know what it means. Humanist beliefs stress the potential value and goodness of human beings, emphasize common human needs, and seek solely rational ways of solving human problems. Solely rational ways. Whose rationality? There lies one of the problems. So, from an Amazon.com review of the book, Humanism, What's That? A Book for Curious Kids. This is a book for children. And I quote, humanists look at life as a natural process, so they don't believe in the supernatural. They rely on science to explain the meaning of life, not on religion, though they support each person's freedom to choose to believe or not to believe. Rather than speculating about what comes after death, humanists prefer to focus on life on earth. Humanists generally espouse the values of universal education, freedom of thought, and free expression, open-minded pursuit of the truth, tolerance of others' differences, mutual respect, and preservation of the environment. End quote. Very interesting. However, it all relies on one thing: a lack of God. That is the crux of humanism, a lack of God. After that, just about anything goes. But apparently, there are numerous types of humanism. I had no idea that there were these types of humanism until I started studying humanism for adult Sunday school. I found out there are numerous types. And we're going to start with those. So what I've been able to find are as follows. And by the way, anyone can find these. There are thousands of humanist websites. Literally thousands. However, if you decide to look into it, and I urge you to, as a child of God, we should look into this. We should study this. Not because we want to believe in something other than God, but we need to know how the world thinks. And this is a very close explanation of how the world thinks, because it is the dogma that the world has been programmed to. And, might I say, we are programmed to. Anti-God. So everything we learn, everything we deal with in this world is anti-God. And it all breaks down to humanism.
Jesus said, the world hated me before they hated you.
That's right. So, the first one, and this one cracked me up. Christian humanism. I know, that's like an oxymoron right there, right? I mean,
Christian witch.
yeah, it's like a Christian witch or a Christian gay person or a Christian communist or anything else that this world has, and you add Christian to it, basically. That's what it boils down to.
Christian atheist.
Yeah, Christian atheist. I mean, you know, that's probably the closest to Christian humanism that you could possibly come to. Atheists don't believe in God. Humanists don't believe in God. So how would you put the two together? Let's look a little bit about it. Christian humanism is a philosophy based on Christian beliefs about the nature of God and which advocate people's fulfillment by personal effort. Yes.
I got here because I made it happen.
I got here because I made it happen. I'm going to succeed
Because I made it.
in the eternal life because I made it happen. Somehow I'm going to, combine those with Christian beliefs about God. Again, Wikipedia. Go ahead. No.
They actually believe in God.
No. I mean, because
They believe
they do believe in God, but yet they believe in humanism too, which is literally a belief that God does not exist. And it's Christianity with works, but more. Wikipedia defines it as the position that universal human dignity and individual freedom are essential and principal components of, or are at least compatible with, Christian doctrine and practice. It is a philosophical union of Christian and humanist principles. Again, I don't know how you do that. Because as we look at humanism and what humanism is and the breakdown of humanism, you'll find that it is impossible to have a union of Christian and humanist principles and doctrines. You can't do it.
like a capitalist communist.
Correct. Capitalist communist. How does that work? No, not a socialist, because that's not a joining of the two. Cultural humanism. A concept that knowledge can be obtained through rational thought and experimentation. It has roots in ancient Greece and Rome. It developed into the scientific method and is the major underpinning of all sciences today. I got more to say on that. We got to move on. Literary humanism. Pursuit of the humanities, languages, literature, philosophy, history, etc. Modern humanism. A generic term encompassing both religious and secular humanism. Oh, yeah, there's religious humanism too, so keep that one in mind. Philosophical humanism. The words are hard. A philosophy centered upon the needs and interests of people. Renaissance humanism, a movement starting at the end of the Middle Ages which renewed an interest in classical studies and promoted the concept that truth could be discovered by human effort. Enlightenment, yeah, that's one of those.
Whose truth?
Whose truth?
The world's truth.
Was that? That's your truth. That's not my truth. Something like that. Does that make sense? No, but I reject your reality and substitute my own. Exactly. All right. Religious humanism. Again, that goes with the other night. Similar to secular humanism, except that it is practiced in a religious setting with fellowship and rituals.
Okay, I see where that would, because a lot of the other religions,
You could take humanism and make it a religion.
or a lot of the other religions have humanistic elements. That's what I will.
That's right.
Humanism would be a religion.
That is a good point. Humanism would be its own religion. Just like an atheist.
Science is their religion.
Science is their religion. Humanism, you see the correlation between humanism and atheism? They both rely on the premise there is no God that I am responsible to. I'm responsible for me and to me, and that's it. I am the highest power that there is.
Main character syndrome.
Yeah.
Even logically, they both kind of boil down to that as well.
Correct.
They both boil down to the same thing.
Correct. Secular humanism, a non-religiously based philosophy promoting humanity as the measure of all things. It had its roots in the rationalism of the 18th century and the free thought movement of the 19th century. Some famous and religious and secular humanists are, and this list might shock some people, others it wouldn't. Isaac Asimov, scientist and author. No shock whatsoever. Anybody ever read Isaac Asimov? First law, second law, the laws of robotics. Yep. Hello.
Yep.
Margaret Atwood, author and literary freedom activist. Not that shocked either. Brock Chisholm, physician and first director general of the WHO, which stands for World Health Organization. Again, not very shocked either. Albert Einstein, physicist and conceiver of the theory of relativity. That shock anybody? Considering he's credited with all kinds of religious quotes. I don't know if he does or not, but you see him all the time. He's accredited them, but I don't know he did them or said them. Betty Friedan, feminist activist. No surprise there. Betty Friedan.
I heard Benny, so that's the reason.
Betty, sorry. R. Buckminster Fuller, futurist and inventor. Never heard of him. Julian Huxley, philosopher and first director general of UNESCO, United Nations Educational, Social, and Cultural Organization. Definitely heard of that individual. No, again, no surprise there. Richard Leakey, anthropologist. Abraham Maslow, psychologist and creator of Third Force Psychology.
No surprise there.
Yes, no surprise there. John Boyd Orr, the first director general of the FAO, Food and Agricultural Organization. No surprise there either. A. Philip Randolph, human rights activist. No clue who that individual is. Eugene Wesley, or Gene Roddenberry, television screenwriter and producer. No surprise there.
Even though a lot of what, just like with Steven Spielberg, a lot of their readings and stuff sound a whole lot like Christianity,
Yes,
but there is no God.
there is no God in their thought process. And you will see that in everything that they produce for television or movies. And don't get me wrong, I'm a big Gene Roddenberry fan, like Star Trek. Big Gene Roddenberry fan, Star Trek, right?
Yep.
However, I remember when I first started watching Star Trek, the very first thing I noticed was there was no God.
Yep.
Humanity, intellect, aliens, all that stuff. There was no God. Never a mention of God. Never mention of religion. Nothing. It was completely devoid of religion and God. And if there was any religion mentioned, it was made fun of
Right.
in a humorous way. Not being funny, but they thought it was. Carl Rogers, psychologist and creator of client-centered therapy. If you've ever had to deal with psychology, you would have heard of this guy. He's kind of a big wig. Bertrand Russell, mathematician and philosopher. Jonas Salk, physician and developer of the polio vaccine. I mean, I knew who he was. I didn't know he was a humanist, but I knew who he was. Margaret Sanger, founder of Planned Parenthood. No surprise there. Andrei Sakharov, physicist and human rights activist. Again, no surprise there. Gloria Steinem, feminist activist and founder of Miss Magazine. This list was taken from the text of a talk by Frederick Edwards, copyright badge, copyright outline 1989 by Frederick Edwards, the executive director of the American Humanist Association. And by the way, you want to learn about humanism? American Humanist Association has a wonderful website that you can peruse at your own leisure. Do so at your own cognizance. And do so with much prayer. Anthony Fauci. Oh, we know him. Fauci. I don't care. I don't care if I say his name wrong. He was named Humanist of the Year at the American Humanist Association's 80th annual conference in July 2021. I wonder why. So, where did they get their start? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, they got their start before the Garden of Eden. You say, why? Oh, its founder, Satan. Anything anti-God boils back to him. However, this philosophy's been around since then. Officially, a humanist manifesto was prepared in 1933, endorsed by 34 leading humanists, and published in the 1933 May-June issue of the New Humanist. It was updated as the Human Manifesto II in 1973. Humanist Manifesto III, titled Humanism and Its Aspirations, was written in 2003. It is not published as dogma that humanists must believe because, why?
They do what they want.
You do what you want. You believe what you want to believe. And trust me, another humanist will punch holes in it if they can. Rather, it represents a consensus of what all or almost all humanists believe. It's not saying they have to, it's just, this is kind of what we all believe. Not guidelines either. Just basically saying, hey, this is what we believe. Pretty much. And you can find all of that information at these websites. Religious. Yeah, that's right. That's right. www.religiousTolerance.org /humanism1.htm.
Whereas every website now has some kind of merchandise to buy. Guarantee you can find the coexist and tolerance stickers right there. You can back your car.
I'm sure you can. And the other one is AmericanHumanist.org. Now, what is humanism? I've given you the definition. I've given you a little bit of some of the famous people who were big in humanism, kind of pushed that humanist agenda. But what is humanism? Kind of more, what is the belief of humanism? You got the basic idea. What is the belief? The system of thought is summed up into 10 main beliefs. 10 main beliefs. So, we're going to look at these beliefs first. Number one, the first belief is summed up like this. Humanism believes in a naturalistic metaphysics or attitude toward the universe that considers all forms of the supernatural as myth. and that regards nature as the totality of being and as a constantly changing system of matter and energy which exists independently of any mind or consciousness. There are several different beginning statements from numerous different humanist websites. However, this one seemed to be the quote-unquote best. If there is a best. Okay? They're all really close. If you notice, this long and verbose opening statement basically only says one thing. Nothing in nature was created and has evolved on its own due to its current form. Nothing in nature was created and has evolved on its own to its current form with no stimuli of any supernatural effect.
So we're all freaks of nature.
Basically, everything is a freak of nature that has just, come about. Evolution is the prime component of humanism. Say, why is that? Because without evolution, there is no explanation of how life came to be. You see, prior to the theory of evolution, they just didn't believe in God. And it wasn't, there was that, but it wasn't as big and as blown up as it is since evolution came about. It was the missing piece in the atheist arsenal. You see, before that, they had to just poke holes in what religions believed. That's it. That's all they could do.
And of course, they would poke holes in the weak people that couldn't really articulate what God was trying to say.
Not just for God, but for any religion.
Yeah, but
The second belief goes something like this. Humanism, drawing especially upon the laws and facts of science, believes that we human beings are an evolutionary product of the nature of which we are a part, that the mind is indivisibly conjoined with the functioning of the brain, and that as an inseparable unity of body and personality, we can have no conscious survival after death. Again, you must remove a creator or God because otherwise there is not a basis for their beliefs. That literally knocks everything they believe out of the water after that point. Hence why I say there is no such thing as Christian humanist or Christian humanism. There can't be. Humanism beliefs are loosely tied to science, and I use quotation marks for science, but are dependent upon the individual, not the whole. This has made it very hard to pin down the actual humanist beliefs because they are directly tied to what is right in their own eyes.
As it was in the day of Noah, every man did what was right in his own eyes.
There you go. The third belief is this. Humanism, having its ultimate faith in mankind, believes that human beings possess the power or potentiality of solving their own problems, through reliance primarily upon reason and scientific method applied with courage and vision. As I mentioned previously, humanism ties himself to science, but then picks and chooses which science to follow or believe. Almost every, and I say almost, because I don't want to leave out the few that don't. But almost every humanist believes not only in evolution, but also believes in something we call global warming. Global climate change. Whatever the latest flavor is. Doesn't matter. They still believe in that.
But it also depends on which science is the science of the day, what the flavor of the week is, because their science changes because it has to suit what the majority of the people are trying to change the world into what they want, believe.
Right.
Because if you don't change what they believe, then they poke their own holes in their own cases.
But again,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. You loosely believe in the humanism, so it doesn't matter if we each have individual differing beliefs on that, because we have different life experiences and things like that, and that causes us to have a little different mindset. But the main things we believe the same.
Yeah.
Right? And that's how they look at it. Number 4, the fourth belief is this: humanism, in opposition to all theories of universal determinism, fatalism, or predestination, believes that human beings, while conditioned by the past, possess genuine freedom of creative choice and action, and are, within certain objective limits, the shapers of their own destiny.
Which is true.
Which is true. A lot of that is true.
We are conditioned to our past experiences.
Correct. We are conditioned to our past experience. We do possess genuine freedom of creative choice and action. We do, within certain limits, we are the shapers of our own destiny.
And it's things like this, when they do base it off of science, that makes children of God so apprehensive to certain parts of science as a whole, which makes our case even worse.
Well, the thing is, though, but as a child of God, we should believe in science. You know why? Because science confirms
Exactly.
the Scripture.
That's what I'm saying. But because of how.
But like I said, they pick and choose what part of science they want to use and what they don't.
And then many children of God, unfortunately, from what I've seen at least, tend to associate science with all of this.
Because of
That's what I'm saying.
bad science, or maybe not bad science, because if you're not following the laws of science, then it's not even science at all. So there's a what? Pseudoscience. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Good term. So a lot of times children of God don't know enough about science to be able to refute pseudoscience. And as such, just don't want to do anything with science at all, because it's all bad. And it's not. Matter of fact, true scientists will come to understand what God is and who God is.
And we should want to study it because we just study what God has created for us.
Correct. I mean, more than just what God's created, the wonders of God's creation.
What He has created for His glory.
Every one of these beliefs have one main component, and that is a complete 100% removal of God from every aspect of life. Every aspect. Not just the afterlife, but every aspect of life. The fifth belief is this: humanism believes in an ethics or morality that grounds all human values in this earthly experience and relationships, and that holds as its highest goal that this worldly happiness, freedom, and progress, economic, cultural, and ethical of all humankind, irrespective of nation, race, or religion. That's a huge, huge statement that means nothing. Really means nothing. And I say that because an ethics or morality, without a standard, you can have no ethics or morality.
And how are you supposed to do human values when a lot of humanists themselves will also note that we as people are too nuanced to actually be able to summarize our values, especially given.
And human values are what we are taught. And if you're not taught values, guess what? You don't have any values. We see that in the world today.
And again, the values keep changing according to what the flavor of the day is.
Correct. And you can change the values. Oh, well, you know what? No, we don't need those values. They're old news. The sixth belief is this. Sorry. Humanism believes that the individual... that the individual attains the good life by harmoniously combining personal satisfactions and continuous self-development with significant work and other activities that contribute to the welfare of the community. Again, huge statement, a lot of words. Let's look at them a little closer. Humanism believes that the individual, you, me, everyone else, individually, attains the good life, which is subjective, which means apparently I've never obtained the good life, by harmoniously combining personal satisfactions and continuous self-development. I guess if I don't develop myself then continually, I guess then obviously I couldn't have a good life.
And personal satisfaction is very subjective also. At what point are you satisfied?
Very true. What point are you satisfied?
Should you be satisfied?
What point should you be satisfied?
And harmoniously,
But that has to harmonize with significant work and other activities that contribute to the welfare of the community. So, if you're not contributing to the welfare of all or the community, then your personal satisfactions and your continuous self-development really don't matter because they have to harmoniously combine with significant work and contributing to the welfare of the community.
or you have to change the community.
Or you have to change your community, right? So, humanists are quote-unquote good moral people. That's what they claim. Again, I retort to that. What is your standard to claim your ethics, to claim your morality? What's your standard? How many people have you asked that? What is your standard for your ethics or your morals? Well, I feel like, well, wait. Feelings change. If your beliefs are based on your feelings, then guess what? Your beliefs can change. Like you said, the flavor of the day, the flavor of the month, the flavor of the year. Well, I've had this experience this year, so you know what? It's all changed. Everything's changed.
Turning over a new leaf.
Turning over a new leaf. Everything is different. So your ethics and your morality is like sand at the beach. Constantly, stood on the beach, and as the water comes in and goes back out and everything changes, and all of a sudden you start sinking. So guess what? Your morality, your ethics are like that. Different stimuli, everything changes. The seventh belief is this. Humanism believes in the widest possible development of art and awareness of beauty, including the appreciation of nature's loveliness and splendor that God created, so that the aesthetic experience may become a pervasive reality in the lives of all people. Well, that sounds like a worship of nature without even acknowledging the existence of its creator. And if you can worship nature, if you truly look at nature and you look at ourselves, we are the apex of nature. God created all the world and created us last. And the human body, we still don't understand all of the nuances of the human body. We never will.
People would barely understand the nuances of anything in this world, really.
Correct. We barely understand. Science is constantly new discoveries of things they've already discovered, but they find out that they got it wrong, or they find out there's more to the story. There's more to it. And as they look at it closer, oh, wow, this is amazing. How can that not show you someone made it? The eighth belief is this. Humanism believes in a far-reaching social program that stands for the establishment throughout the world of democracy, peace, and a high standard of living on the foundations of a flourishing economic order, both national and international. We're all equal and we're all one happy family. and never happens. Never will happen. The ninth belief is this, and we're almost done. I could have added a lot more. The problem is once you do it, then you get into a whole lot more. Humanism believes in the complete social implementation of reason and scientific method, and thereby in democratic procedures and parliamentary government, with full freedom of expression and civil liberties throughout all areas of economic, political, and cultural life. I'll go back to that. Complete social implementation of reason and scientific method. And thereby, in democratic procedures.
So the few telling the many what to believe.
Yep. Parliamentary government.
The few telling the many what to believe.
Correct. With full freedom of expression and civil liberties throughout all areas of economic, political, and cultural life, as long as it benefits the community. Remember? Everything has to benefit everybody, not yourself.
Socialism.
Okay, so it's okay that we just kill this child because he's annoying because he annoys everyone. So him being dead is just going to be a net positive.
But they have their own freedoms and expression and civil liberties, as long as it doesn't affect the whole.
That's what I'm pointing out.
Correct. The 10th belief is this. Humanism, in accordance with the scientific method, believes in the unending questioning of basic assumptions and convictions, including its own. Again, through science, you are constantly questioning everything. What does that sound like to you?
Critical thinking.
Critical thinking. And where did critical thinking start? In the Garden of Eden. Remember, Satan didn't call God a liar. He just cast doubt on what God said. Critical thinking. Constantly questioning the truth of everything. Believes in the unending questioning of basic assumptions and convictions, including its own.
Which means they can fit it to wherever they want to in order to fit the flavor of the day.
Correct. You can constantly change it based on new stimuli, and that's okay.
That's okay. That's your truth.
That's your truth for that day. Humanism is not a new dogma, but it is a developing philosophy ever open to experimental testing, newly discovered facts, and more rigorous reasoning. End quote.
You can go through some pretty rigorous mental gymnastics to come to a conclusion, though.
Correct. But is your conclusion right?
Exactly. Rigorous doesn't always mean.
Rigorous reasoning does not mean it's right. Unless you have some basis in fact. You have to have something to base it on. What's black and white? Everybody likes to say black and white. Well, they're shades. They're both shades of gray. Truthfully, people say that. They're shades of gray. Meaning nothing is black or white. Nothing is right or wrong.
Right.
So, what is that? Critical thinking. Constantly questioning the standard or the status quo. And I'm not saying that questioning the status quo is not always bad.
Right.
There's a lot of times we do it in serving God.
Yeah.
Why are we doing what we're doing? Is it working? No.
Is it harming others?
Not in God's work. That's not how we look at it.
Sorry.
We look at, in God's work, we look at, is it reaching the lost? Is it biblically sound? Why are we doing what we're doing? Is it working? are we reaching the lost? Sometimes challenging the status quo is extremely necessary. Information provided by, here's the websites that I got them from. Now, this is part of a series that I taught in our adult Sunday school class in 2021 and 2022. Huh?
It took us a whole year.
No, it didn't.
Almost.
No, it didn't.
Really?
We started in September and ended in February.
Really?
Yep.
It seemed longer than that.
The reason it seemed longer than that was because, well, I look back at everything, and the reason it seemed longer than that was because of what we were looking at. It was very overloading of beliefs that are so anti-God and anti what we believe that it seemed like it took forever, but it really didn't. It really didn't. Fortunately. So this series was not broadcast, and I've been requested in the past to redo this series so it can be broadcast live via our ministry broadcasts. So that's what I'm trying to do. So tonight, that was an introduction to humanism. Again, there is so much more to that. And we will look at each one of the aspects of humanism, the pillars of humanism, basically the foundational principles of humanism, because without those, humanism falls apart. Okay? And if you haven't figured out already, the very first and the very most critical foundation of humanism is evolution. So, thank you for joining us. And I appreciate your patience. And I know it wasn't too long tonight, but that's okay. As we get into the pillars of humanism, they can get very long. And I think that's why you said it took us a whole year, which it didn't, but that's why it takes a while, because of all the information. So, thank you for joining us, and let us pray.
We here at International Missionary Baptist Ministries are so thankful that you chose to watch or listen to this Wednesday evening Bible study. We will be broadcasting again at this same time next week. If you wish to contact us, we can be reached by email at imbr@imbmpodcasts.com. Our mailing address is International Missionary Baptist Radio, P.O. Box 1676, Smyrna, Tennessee 37167. Again, I repeat, our email address is imbr@imbmpodcasts.com. Podcast is plural there. Our snail mail is International Missionary Baptist Radio, P.O. Box 1676, Smyrna, Tennessee 37167. We thank you so very much for watching or listening. We hope that this was a blessing to you.